G'day everyone and welcome back to Mr. Apple's World of Gaming. I'm the man they call Apples and you are watching a brand new game called Train Sim World 2. This is the stunning recreation of the famous Bakerloo Line of the London Underground, complete with all the above ground stations and of course those stations in the tube. Welcome back to all my beautiful subscribers, and for those of you new to the channel, if you like what you see, make sure you hit that like button as well as the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any content in the future. And while you're at it, hit the notification bell so you know when my next videos go live. If you have any thoughts about the new game, or the kind of content you would like to see from it, please let me know in the comments below, as I always make sure to respond to everyone who hits me up. We're going straight into the London Underground now, as we go from Queen's Park Station to Elephant and Castle, taking in every tube stop along the famous line. So, let's dive into it. Alright guys, let's get this show rock and rolling. Here we're doing the Queen's Park to Elephant and Castle run. Let's just get the train all set up first. Turn that on, put the key in there. Turn that into intermediate mode. We'll turn that into the off position. That's the traction brake. And then the audible warning valve reset gets put on. And then we get that into forward, the selection director. And that would be the direction selector. And then we can roll our way through to the first station. Alright, so for those of you who don't know the Bakerloo Line, so the first station here that we're using is Queen's Park Station. There are plenty of stations that are in the other direction that I have shown you in that little montage beforehand. But we're going to show you the actual tube in this video, because I think the tube is fantastic. That the way they have captured all the stations, I think they've done a really, really cool job. So we will just make sure that we get this one done correctly. Alright, unlock left. Alright, cool. Yeah, so they've done such a good job. So what they are doing with the graphics, they have moved on to Unreal Engine 5, which is the engine that they use to produce the graphics for the game. Now, previously they were on Unreal Engine 4. The main differences, as I understand it, is we'll just get the show on the road again, and we will say hello to our other train that's coming the other way. So the main differences, as I understand it, is that obviously the graphics are cleaner and crisper. I've actually got the graphics on a slightly lower setting, just so the filming runs a bit smoother. So there's a little bit of feedback in the graphics that you don't kind of get on the higher setting. I've just done that just so I can record this nice and easily without too many breaks in the game. Excuse me. And what it does, it actually reduces the strain on your graphics processing unit of your computer. So that means it can provide better graphics with a more efficient process, which is needed because this is obviously a very graphic heavy game. Graphics are one of the main parts of it, obviously. You've got your graphics and how the train actually rides. They're the two main parts of the game, really. So we will just roll this in. Very, very good. So we're at Kilburn Park. Excuse me. We will unlock that, and we'll wait for them on. So look, you got your cameras here, so you can have a look, make sure there's no one racing for the train as you close the doors and that kind of thing. We're all good. We've got to wait a couple of seconds because we're slightly ahead of time, which is awesome. We'll lock that. We'll get the train ready to go once the doors are closed. There we go. That little noise letting us know that those doors are closed and we can head on our way to Maida Vale Station. Alright, so this here, for those who haven't seen, this is the Bakerloo Line, one of the most famous lines on the London Underground and one of the most busiest too. Excuse me. So they actually have the entire Bakerloo Line, so this actually extends out above ground for a fair distance going back behind us in the other direction, but I'm just going to show you Queen's Park to Elephant and Castle because that's where the tube line is on the Bakerloo Line. And here we go. So they've got all the tube stations in full. They've got all the above ground stations for the Bakerloo Line in full. And I think that is a fantastic effort. This is probably the most fun line that I have run on this game. I've done a lot. There's a few that I haven't yet got to, that I'm hoping to get to very, very soon. East Coastway is another one I'm hoping to get to very soon, and I've done a bit of riding on the new Intercity Express, which is the German train. The German train that goes up to 300 kilometers an hour, which is going to be so much fun. Here we go. Unlock right. And set the train back up again, ready to go once the doors are locked. Yeah, so this is by far the most fun that I've had, because the stations are really short and sharp in between each other. I think the longest, once you get into the tube, the longest gap between the stations is about 1 kilometre. It might be slightly more than 1 kilometre. And you get a couple of that are about this sort of, here we go, 865 metres it was at the start there. You get a couple that are about that kind of margin as well, and then there's a couple that are about 400 metres apart. And so basically you're getting up, trying to get up to speed nice and quickly, and then you're having to slow down and put those brakes on hard. One of the good things about this 1972 stock train is it gets up to speed quite well, especially considering it doesn't really have to get up to that higher speed in the tube. It's limited to usually around the 48 to 56 kilometre hour mark, depending on what part of the tunnel you're in. And it brakes really responsively once you go through the brakes. It's got 4 levels of braking before you get to emergency, and yeah, they actually do a very, very nice job of slowing it down, the train, nice and quickly, as long as you've controlled it correctly. So here we are, we're heading into Warwick Avenue station. We'll just slow it down a little bit. There we go, look at that, nice clean looking station, beautiful. Go through a bit more of the detail of that. So, check it on max, very nice, unlock that. So a few things wanted to bring up about this simulation, just a few things that I've seen in different parts of forums and on the fan pages. People criticise Dovetail Games for how clean the stations and the tunnels and stuff look. Now, my understanding of that, again, it's from what I've seen from quite a few people, is they, well, it's not my understanding, this is what actually happens. They get a license from, we'll turn the cab lights on, they get a license from the owners of the London Underground. I'm from Perth, Western Australia, so I'm not entirely sure how that actually works, but they get a license to actually be able to run the station. They can't just obviously create a train line by themselves. Under that license, they, I imagine, would be required to clean it up a little bit. So, no graffiti, no dirt, just make sure the line looks nice and good. Like, it make nice and clear. It looks bright to what it should do if all the stations were cleaned at the same time, effectively, or deep cleaned at the same time, and they're all good and ready to go. So we'll take the speed down a little bit there. So they're not going to be able to run that license and then have dirty stations. That's going to show the London Underground in a really bad light. And yeah, it's just not going to work. They're not going to be able to do any expansion to it. They're not going to be able to do other underground, any other underground lines, which they, if you saw the roadmap, they're looking to do some more. And they're looking to do more around London because of the complexity of it and how busy the stations are and the trains are. So they're looking to do more around London itself. So they want to make sure that they are well in with the people that they do their contract negotiations with. And by doing that, they make the place look good. And my hat's off to them because they've done a fantastic job. There are definitely bugs in the game, and there's bugs in every game. I play Call of Duty Warzone, and there are bugs that have destroyed that game for some people. Like, you pick up a gun and for some people the skin glitched across the entire screen. Like, they didn't know where they were shooting. That's a huge bug. The bugs that I've seen in this are not crippling. They don't cripple the game that I've seen. Just a few things, like every now and then, if you don't stop in exactly the right spot, it gets very, very touchy. Whereas previously in Train Sim World 2020, that kind of thing never happened. If you stop roundabout where you should do, then you're fine. But that kind of thing can be ironed out, and they have shown so far that they are going to be proactive in trying to iron out those bugs. And at the end of the day, they have produced this game while half of the people are actually working from home. I need to actually see what station we're at this time. Edgware Road, there we go. Oh, we went past Paddington. Oh, I completely missed that. We went past Paddington Station. So my daughter is 3 years old and she loves Paddington Bear. So we often watch that together. There we go, lock the doors left. And let's get on the road again. So one of the things about the 1972 stock train that we're using, it gets up to speed quite well. It's very responsive. Like some of the bigger trains, like you have to really ease into your acceleration to get going. My big tip for this one is if you're in rainy or snowy weather, then you need to ease it in again. So shunt to about 7 or 8 kilometers an hour, series until about maybe 12 to 15 kilometers an hour, depending on how heavy it is, and then get into your parallel setting, which is the highest, your highest setting. Otherwise, it does wheel slip a lot. There we go. That's probably as far out as I've got, 3 meters away from the stopping distance. So yeah, generally the train is actually very easy to stop close to where you need it to be. So that was about 3 meters away. Oh, we're running ahead of time. What's going on? Am I really a tube driver? I'm not. I'm running ahead of time. No offense to the tube drivers, they do a hell of a job. And their time frames are insanely tight. Yeah, so the train, the brakes on the train respond really well too. You see, we're only about 400 meters from the next station, so we're barely even going to get up to a decent speed. And in fact, we probably have a corner coming up, so it's going to tell us to go 40 k's an hour. So as you can see here, there's a little marker that tells you what the speed limit is, so we're hovering right on the speed limit there. Heading into the famous Baker Street station. Go. How cool is that? Look at the advertising on the sides as well. You got London advertising, you got perfume, cologne advertised, holidays, shopping centres advertised. There we go. Cool. Unlock left. So it's done a superb job. Obviously the advertising is pretty generic, but it kind of mirrors what the type of things that you'd see in the London Underground, which is awesome. Go, set the train up. The little sound to say that the doors have closed. Let's get up to speed. One of the things here, you'll see here is our gradient. So we're going slightly downhill at 0.3% gradient. On the tube, it's very, very up and down. going in between stations, it's look, that it's already gone back to leveling out, but it'll go up, it'll go down. You know, it's really something you've got to keep an eye on. And you've got to keep an eye on because of when you idle. So I'm in idle mode. Often release is basically the train idling. And we can go a little bit quicker again. So yeah, it's in idle mode. But obviously if we're going downhill, and sometimes you can get gradients of up to 2%, 2.5% at the start of the tube line. You really got to be careful with going over the speed limit, which you may have noticed. I went a fair bit over the speed limit right at the start of doing this line. So we're going to slow down. Going to go a little bit more of a slow down. There we go. We'll roll it in. Perfect. Unlock. Alrighty, we're at Regent's Park. Station, and look, see, it's got its own brickwork that you'd find at the actual station itself. So all the stations are unique and look exactly, well, look the way they do in real life if they'd had undertaken a deep clean. Alright, on our way again. So this one we're about 1 kilometre from the next one, so it's one of the longer journeys in between stations on this line. If you had a look at my Long Island Railroad, that's another, obviously, inner city train line. The distances between the stations, there's a couple that are about 1.5 to 2 k's apart. But for the most part, they're much, much further apart. Okay, we'll probably just slow down a smidgen, just idle it in. We're going straight at the moment. We do not have a gradient apparently, which is cool. So we can just idle it and sit on the speed limit perfectly of 48 kilometers an hour. And now we're going to go down a little bit to 40. I'll just... the other thing is a lot of tight twists and turns. We're about to head into another one. There we go. Alright, coming into Oxford Circus Station, another very famous station. That's the other thing that's really cool about this line is it's just like famous station after famous station that you're going to. So for those of you who haven't been to London, such as me, but you've heard of these places, it's really, really cool to actually see them come to life right in front of you. And for those of you who have been there and have ridden the tube, let me know in the comments below if this is what it looks like, and as I said, if this is what it looks like with a big deep clean of the place, because that's kind of what they were going for. Okay, here we come into Piccadilly Circus Station. Have a look how cool this one looks. Again, let me know in the comments below if this is what it actually looks like in real life. If you've been there and you think it's very realistic, that'd be awesome to know. From what I've seen, and I can only go off pictures that I've seen, you know, by googling on the internet, that kind of thing, that they've done a superb job. They've made this look like, they've made this look like, as I said before, the stations have had a deep clean. They cleaned the graffiti, cleaned the dirt off, and they're looking schmick. And load pad. I've got to wait a little while. Yeah, cool. Yeah, so that'd be awesome to know what your thoughts are about how well they've done with this recreation. We'll lock the doors and we'll head on our way again. Nice short little trip. This one's only just under 500 meters to the next one. It's some nice tight turns that we've got to navigate. We're going downhill as well. We've got a 1.3% downhill gradient. So we can just pick the speed up a little bit, get that up to 40 k's an hour by the look of it. Maybe 42. Yeah, 42 I think. Oh no, I was right the first time. And then we go back down again because we're going around a nice tight turn. Go. I don't know, we leveled out, so hopefully the idle should stay around the speed limit. So you're coming to Charing Cross Station. Go. So a couple of things to address. Obviously, the stations in real life are far more busier than what they are. But they have actually increased that quite a fair bit from the previous game. Whereas in the previous game, you might have only had 4 or 5 people waiting at some of the stations, especially on like the Long Island Railroad, which I did, which obviously is one of the most busiest railroads in the world. You'd only have like a handful of people that were getting on and off at each station. This one has a substantial amount more people, but obviously it's probably a little bit short of what it would be in real life. There are a few complexities around getting that into a game, so it would add a lot of processing power onto your computer, and it just means a lot more people wouldn't be able to play the game because you'd have to have your greater RAM, your graphics processing unit would need to be even better. So they've increased the amount of people, but obviously it's still going to be well short of what you'd actually have in real life. What I've actually found though is that the stations that are at the start of your run, depending on which way you are running in your timetable, look, there's still quite a few people here. The stations at the start of your run, they tend to be busier, and then the stations towards the end of your run tend to be a little bit quieter. Okay. Put the max on. Oh, look at that. Almost nailing these stops now after I completely messed one up earlier, which may or may not have been why I decided to do a little cutscene. Alright, we're at Embankment Station. And let's lock those doors. And let's get ready to go. So let's just quickly go into our schedule. Let's show you what we've got left. Waterloo, Lambeth North, Elephant and Castle. Not far to go now. And this next one is only 600 metres down the road. I say road, obviously. It's a rail. The other thing I've seen people criticise them for is the lighting, and people saying it's too dark, because when they see videos of trains going through the tube on YouTube, the videos are much brighter. Now the reason for that is because for the purposes of the video, the train conductor, or most likely someone who's sitting in that seat right there next to them filming it, has a torch out the front, or has a much brighter light out the front, lighting the way, so that it actually shows up on the video. From what I've seen for people who are actually train conductors, who have experience in actually running this line, is that this is not far off what it actually is if you're looking out the front. Your headlights are not actually to, I guess, light everything in front of you to see where you are going. Because you're on a train, there's only one place you're going. Okay, the headlights are there for people who are outside the train, in front of the train, to see you coming better. So the lighting is actually pretty close to what it is in real life, which I think is really, really cool. It's an interesting thing to know, because it is obviously one of the first things that jumps out of you. You go into the tunnel and you're like, oh, this is dark. What's going on with the lighting here? But apparently it's very close to what it actually is in real life, which is awesome. Again, they're going for the realism. Heading in to Lambeth North Station. Our second last stop on the line. Apparently the sounds are actually from, are mostly from a different train, which has a similar sound but not the same. And again, the reasons for that is they weren't actually able to get out and do the recording of the train because of the whole situation in the last few months regarding the pandemic and having to do a lot of this work from their respective homes. Which again just shows they've done a really, really good job. So obviously they would have loved to have come out and captured the sounds as they are in real life. But it just wasn't possible for them to do that, unfortunately. So they went with something that sounds similar. For people like me, I wouldn't know the difference, I don't care. The people who are a bit closer to being train nuts, which on fan pages are fantastic. They are some of the biggest contributor to the pages. They say it's a little bit off, which is, yeah. But that's the reason for it. And then the other thing that I think is really cool is the curved stations that they've got. Oops. Need to actually lock the doors first. So it's actually really hard to implement in a game stopping at a curved station. So that was one of the big challenges for them when they were doing the game. And again, they've done a really, really good job. And they put it back a couple of times. It was originally supposed to be released earlier in the year, and then I think it was July originally, and then August 6th, and then they pushed it back a few more weeks just to make sure that they can iron a few things out. Still things they need to get done, for sure. The whole, when you've stopped perfectly and the game just will not consider your train stopped, that needs to be fixed, because that can basically ruin your scenario. But hopefully that's the kind of stuff that they're trying to be proactive in at the moment, getting people's feedback so that they can put it into future updates. And here we go, guys. We're going to head into Elephant and Castle, the famous station. Excuse me. That is our last stop on the road. So I can't be slightly late. That's annoying. We're going to be like seconds late, but we're getting so close to being right on time. I'm really, really happy with that, actually, because sometimes you can get quite behind on this timetable. So slow it down. And we'll just coast it. Yeah, a few seconds late, but that's not bad at all, if I do say so myself. Alright, so we'll lock the doors up. Or unlock them, sorry. We will let the passengers out, let the next lot of passengers in, and then lock it up, and that will be the end of the run. So thank you so much to everyone for watching the video. As said, if you've liked the video, please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to see future content. I'm going to put up some really fun videos coming out soon, which I've got a few things planned that you can kind of muck around in the new version of the game. So I'm going to get that underway soon. We got a gold medal. Fantastic. Let's have a look at stopping distances. Don't worry. Don't look at that one. 14 centimeters. Not bad. 14 centimeters is our closest. 34 centimeters there. Not bad at all. Everything, well, most of them, within about 3 meters of the stopping point. So yep, thanks so much for watching the video. Catch me on my YouTube channel. I've got all my previous videos up there. There'll be a link to one of my previous videos that you'll be able to see on the end screen. So make sure you click on that and have a little check out of that one. So that will be fantastic as well. So thank you very much. Have a good one.